Grief has a way of changing us, sometimes quietly, sometimes all at once. It can come after the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, a career change, a health diagnosis, or even the loss of the life you thought you were going to have.
The truth is, grief doesn't only show up at funerals. It shows up in ordinary moments. A song, a memory, a milestone, an empty chair, a dream that never came to be.
In today's episode, we're talking about grief. Not to fix it, not to rush it, but to better understand it. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to carry love and loss together. Welcome back to JITT Talks. Today we're talking about something every one of us will experience, yet many of us don't know how to talk about it. Grief.
Grief isn't limited to the death of someone we love. We grieve relationships, careers, dreams, seasons of life, our health, our identity, and even sometimes the version of ourselves we thought we'd become. Today's conversation isn't about fixing grief. It's about understanding it.
And Samaje, as a trauma-informed coach, how do you define grief?
So I define grief as a natural response to loss. Now, loss can be in many different forms. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It could be experiences we've lost. It could be things that we've lost, relationships, careers. Everyone experiences grief differently. There's no two people that grieve the same way. Absolutely. Because no two relationships, experiences, or life stories are exactly the same, right?
Exactly.
And there is no right way to grieve. Even though the world will try to tell you this is how you can get over grief in 60 days, there is no right way. Grief doesn't have a predictable timeline. Mm-hmm. The reality is that grief is deeply personal, and giving yourself permission to grieve in your own way is an important part of the healing process. And I also want to remind people that healing isn't a straight line. It's not linear. It can be different on every day. Some days you'll feel great, and some days might be a little bit harder.
Yeah, grief comes and goes.
Yeah, so some days, it could be a memory that triggers it, or a date, or an unexpected reminder that's in your calendar that brings back emotions. And, grief is just a personalized experience.
Exactly.
So, Mom, as I just mentioned, that grief is when we lose something or someone, and loss can come in many different forms. Can you walk us through some of the different types of grief someone may experience in their life?
Absolutely. When people hear death, that's what they usually associate grief with. Like immediately.
Right.
And while death is certainly one form of grief, it's not the only. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand what grief is. It's a natural response to loss. This isn't something unnatural. In any meaningful loss, you're going to grieve it. Yeah. It's the emotional, the physical, even the spiritual response to something changing that mattered to us. Mm-hmm. So in order to grieve something, it had to matter to you.
Right.
And that means people can grieve. They can grieve a marriage after divorce.
Yeah.
They can grieve the loss of a career they poured 20 years into. Mm-hmm. And people grieve retirement. You see that a lot. And, a lot of older people, you hear about some older people after they retired, their lives is not the same.
Right.
But they lost the routine.
Yeah.
The relationships that you've had with other people, mm-hmm. and sometimes even the identity that came with their work.
Feeling needed.
Yeah, exactly. And I know one that I experienced personally. Parents experience grief when their house becomes quiet after their children leave.
Those empty nesters.
Yeah. Yep. They come back sometimes. I was just letting y'all know that.
So don't grieve too long.
Don't grieve too long. Don't grieve too long. Don't put too much into it. It took me 2 therapists and 3 years, but
And I'm back.
about 15 years later, she's back. So yeah, parents do grieve that though. That empty nester syndrome is real.
Yeah.
And health diagnoses. And sometimes you have faith that you're going to get through something. It's a shock when a doctor tells you something in your body isn't working the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
But and what we're grieving most of the time is the future that we thought we were going to have.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that changes our outlook on our future.
Yeah. Even if you come out of the health diagnosis, good, clean, it changes you.
Yeah.
It changes your perspective. Now you might want to do more because you realize life is short.
Absolutely.
It can be taken away very quickly.
Absolutely. And with all of those things, there's friendship changes, financial hardships.
Yeah.
Even dreams that never came to pass can create very real grief. And a lot of people don't realize that. And one of the things I've learned is that grief isn't measured by what you've lost. Mm-hmm. It's measured by what that loss meant to you.
Yeah.
And that's why, like you were saying earlier, 2 people can experience the same event and grieve completely different. Mm-hmm. So, but neither one is wrong. Mm-hmm. And their relationship to loss is just simply different. And I think that's where we sometimes hurt each other because we start comparing grief.
Oh,
we say things like, at least you still have.
Yeah.
Or could it have been worse? Or it could have been worse.
Right.
But grief isn't a competition.
Right.
Pain doesn't need permission to exist. Mm-hmm. If something mattered deeply to you, it's okay to acknowledge that you've experienced a loss. And lastly, I also think that this is one of the reasons I love Scripture so much. Because throughout the Bible, we see people grieving many different kinds of losses. They grieve loved ones. They grieve broken dreams. They grieve exile. Mm-hmm. They grieve disappointment. Even Jesus stood at Lazarus' tomb and wept.
Yeah.
Knowing he was about to raise him from the dead. But he still grieved that, his friendship. And that reminds me that grief isn't a lack of faith. Sometimes grief is simply love adjusting to loss.
That's good.
Yeah. And so, and grief isn't just about learning to live without someone or something. It's about learning who you've become because of that loss.
Yeah.
So, Samaje, before I go into mini sermon, what are some emotions people may experience that surprise them?
Emotions. And just like that word, emotion, it's in motion, right? So every day is different. You can't really plan around grief and the emotions that might come. So sometimes grief shows up in waves, and some days those waves are small, and some days those waves overwhelm you. Grief isn't just like feeling sad. Mm-hmm. Grief can bring anger.
Oh, yeah.
It can bring guilt, anxiety, confusion,
absolutely,
loneliness. I mean, you can even have moments where you feel nothing.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the loss of different things and not necessarily a person, mm-hmm. when you lose maybe the dream job, or you lose a relationship that you planned your life around, of course you're gonna feel like what shoulda, coulda, woulda, like
exactly
what could I have done different. So you can feel regret, you could feel resentment, you
absolutely
can feel just a wave of different things.
Absolutely.
And there's no right or wrong way.
And you can feel some of those. You can have multiple feelings at the same time.
Absolutely.
Because I've been angry, sad.
Yes.
And so you can feel both of them.
You can feel both of them all at the same
all
time.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people may even experience a sense of relief. I mean, if you're watching a loved one go through a hard battle of some type of illness, seeing them suffer, seeing them in pain, you might feel a sense of relief once that has gone and they're now at a better place.
And I want to pause there because that's something that, I have personal experience, and I know other people that experience it. And sometimes I know people think that you use it as a coping mechanism, saying, if you say, well, at least they're not in pain no more. And I'm glad, that part is over. And that take a heart to release someone. But that still doesn't mean you're not going to grieve that person, or you're not going to grieve that loss. A lot of people think you say that, oh, they're over it. Or some people, the people that are hurting and angry and going through those other emotions, sometimes they tend to get angry with you.
Because you have that stance that, well, they're no longer in pain. Yeah. And I think even those who feel like, well, at least they're not in pain anymore, they can struggle with feeling guilt for feeling that way.
Exactly.
Behind feeling that, well, I feel relieved that I don't have to watch them suffer anymore.
Exactly.
Because you and I both have seen someone go from fullness of health to deteriorate and seen their struggle. And in some instances, you do feel like, wow, at least they're not in that pain anymore because I know how hard it was for them.
Yeah.
But then you still grieve them because you're still sad. And like you said, you could feel 2, 3 emotions at once.
Absolutely. And then when you go, sometimes when you are a caregiver and you're with someone and you're watching this process, sometimes you grieve along the way.
Right.
And it's not that we never know when God's going to say that someone time they could recover and move on with life. Absolutely. And you just say, thank God. But there's a part of you as that person deteriorate, you're grieving that part of that person that you knew.
Yeah.
As you go along in that process.
Right.
And in the end, because if it's someone you love, you want to help them.
Absolutely.
And when it's out of your hand and God is in 100% control of this, and there's nothing else man can do, or nothing else you can do, those are the times I think when you get to the point where you want their suffering to end because you feel like they're suffering. Especially
when you have a personal, from the caregiver perspective, when you have a personal relationship with that person and you know that person thrives in life and they don't ever want someone to have to take care of them and they don't ever want to feel like a burden, and you know that they're feeling different emotions about their own journey and you're seeing them go through it, and because you can have relationships with people who, if they weren't sick, they are out here taking the world by control, and they are doing their thing, and they have a full life and they're happy, and now you see someone whose happiness is almost gone and they don't have a reason to smile anymore, and you don't want to see them like that because that's not the person that you know them to be. And so I think we can feel a relief when they are no longer suffering,
when they're
and so and I think another important thing is to remember is that emotions can come and go. Absolutely. And experiencing them doesn't mean you're grieving in the wrong way. You're just grieving. I don't, grief is hard. It's hard to kind of have a blueprint for. It's unexpected. You can't plan for it. And when you're talking about grief of losing someone, a person, it's never, at a right time, because you'll hear people who are going through things and they're like, their life is already busy, and then all of a sudden someone passes and they're like, this isn't the right time. Like, I have so much going on.
I used to call it a disruptor.
I mean, it disrupts your life. And grief is trying to, like you said, it's trying to figure out who you are now, since that important thing, that person, that job, that relationship, whatever it is, has now changed. It's finding out who you are once that happens.
Absolutely.
So it's a challenging thing. But there's still hope, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So sometimes people do want to help people while they're grieving, but they don't really know what to say. So, Mom, what does healthy support look like?
You know, the older I get, the more I believe grieving people don't remember what we said. They remember how we made them feel.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the greatest misconceptions about supporting someone who's grieving is believing we have to fix their pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
Grief isn't a problem to solve. It's an experience to walk through.
Yeah.
And there's so many times that I wish I had known that 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I would postpone my grief trying to fix everybody else and make sure everybody else around me was okay.
Yeah.
Every time we lost a loved one, when I lost my mom, my dad, I just need everybody else to be okay.
Right.
But, I didn't realize then, but now I realize grief isn't a problem to solve. It's an experience to walk through. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we become so focused on finding the perfect words that we miss the greatest gift we have to offer someone. That's our presence.
Yeah.
Just being there.
Yeah. It reminds me of the show we were watching this weekend.
Yeah.
And just how, she just lost her husband, but she created this whole itinerary to be perfect and
when her four
everybody
friends
else,
arrive to make everybody else
comfortable. Friends come, she wants everybody else to be comfortable, and they're like, "We're here for you.
I know.
This is the space for you to completely be vulnerable in whatever you need to be." But I think a lot of times we try to make everybody else feel comfortable, so we don't have to face our own truth. But
Absolutely.
as that show kept going, she eventually was backed in a corner to where she had to face it.
Yeah. And this is actually, I don't know if we walk back to the last, well, not the last, but one of the last loss that we have where I was doing the caregiving, and it's in my book. And if you read my book, chapter 3, I tell you about the grief of my mother and how I had, I use that grief in the wrong way.
Right.
I use that grief to harden myself.
Yeah.
But that last loss where, I was the caregiver, that movie reminded me of that.
Oh, yeah.
When everybody, after she passed away, my job, I felt, was to make sure everybody was comfortable. Everybody got in town, make sure they got to the right hotel.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody was fed, everybody was this. But eventually, and that's how I wind up in Florida, back here in that closet, writing, Surrender in Silence, you stayed, the God who stayed, because grief will do that. Mm-hmm. And grief, and for high achieving people or overachieving people, whatever you want to call me, you tend to want to take care of everybody around you.
To avoid.
I don't know if it's avoiding. You're trying to make sure, because you can't have everybody breaking with you.
Well, I think it goes with that strong mentality, being the strong one, like our last, podcast, where we tend to carry everything for everyone else that was never assigned to us. And so we feel like in these situations where we're grieving that we have to be strong, because if I break, nobody's going to be able to recover.
Exactly.
And I don't know how we come up with this mindset that if we break. But I mean, like, you found yourself in the closet, she found herself in the tub. Yeah. Just sitting there, like, having this full moment.
Full breakdown. So
her friends were there to support her. And I think they weren't there telling her how she should feel. Yeah. They were there to receive how she was feeling.
And just their presence.
Yeah. Just
and in the end, that's what she realized. That's what they realized. This is about presence. Yeah. Because nothing they did in that itinerary helped her at all.
Nothing. Going shopping, having the perfect meal.
Nothing
did it. In fact, I think it's when she dropped the cornmeal.
And took that broom
and that's what happens, right, in grief. Like, for high achievers, for people who are always a strong one, it's something that's non-related.
Oh yeah.
That causes you to fall, go into the closet, sit in the tub.
Yeah.
That's how it ends up happening.
Yeah. Mine was just in the closet. I'm trying to unpack work stuff, and everybody's just
Talking.
pinging me. No. The house was quiet. You guys had all gone to bed. Y'all were upstairs.
Okay.
But my laptop was going off. Emails coming on. People pinging me. Do this, do that. And I just got one email, and I threw my phone and my laptop. It did nothing to me.
Yeah. Unrelated.
Mm-hmm. But that was just that breaking moment.
Right.
So I'm gonna get back to the question you asked me. So I've learned that people rarely remember the perfect thing someone said during their grief.
Right.
But they always remembered who stayed.
Yeah.
They remember who called, who sat quietly beside them.
Yeah.
Who wasn't afraid of their tears. Mm-hmm. They sometimes remember the people who minister sound words to them, because sometimes people can say some things that they really shouldn't say. We'll talk about that. But, sometimes ministry sounds like silence.
Yeah.
And so it's just like some people who sat there with you in that silence and just was there.
Yeah.
So, and I also think, and those, back to some of those things people shouldn't say, I also think we have to be careful with cliches.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard them all. Everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. At least they're in a better place now. God needed another angel. I think God, he has angels.
He has a few.
Even when those words come from a loving heart, they can unintentionally dismiss someone's pain.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that I shouldn't be feeling the way I feel,
right?
Because God needed my child as an angel, or
or my spouse,
or my spouse was in that car accident and died, and that happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes it's timing.
Yeah, and I think even those cliches, when we're talking about the loss of something and not necessarily someone, like a breakup, oh, you're better off without them.
Yeah.
You're young enough, you can move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah.
Well, what if I don't want those other fish? What if I want that fish?
What if I don't know how to fish?
Right. You lose a job. Something else will come up.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Like, and we say those things to try to give comfort, but I think sometimes those things can come off not as genuine.
Absolutely.
And
that's why they are cliches. And
yeah,
I think the best thing, I can tell you in a minute what I heard and what I say to people. Mm-hmm. But I mean, some of the healthiest thing you can say is just simple. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You can say, I'm here.
Yeah. How do you need me to be here for you?
How do you need me to show up for you?
Yeah.
And an honest one, and one of my favorites, I don't have the right words. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what you're going through.
Right.
But I don't want you to walk through this alone.
Yeah.
So I'm here. What do you need from me?
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, especially when people get like health diagnoses, you say things like, I understand. No, that is the wrong thing to say, because you don't know, if you haven't walked that journey, you don't know. So it's better to say, I don't have the words to comfort you right now, but I'm here and I'm present, and however you need me to walk with you in this journey, I will show up for you.
And even if you've gone through it, your experience may be different from my experience.
Yeah.
You may be a 60-year-old woman that has gone through, cancer.
Right.
And survived, and you want to give me advice, and I'm a 30-year-old woman with 3 small children.
Right.
What you experience at 60 is different from what I'm experiencing at 30.
That is so
what
true.
I'm concerned about is not your concern, wasn't your concern.
Right.
So it's not healthy to tell people, I understand what you're going through, even if you've gone through it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can tell them, I've had my battle of my own. Mm-hmm. If you have any questions about treatment, or if you have any questions, I can, see what I can do to help you navigate that.
Yeah.
But don't tell people, I know what you're going through. You don't know what someone's going through. Somebody could be on their last paycheck and they
And
just
now they
got
got
hit with
this,
this.
cancer's not cheap to
Yeah.
treatments and things are not cheap, and now they're trying to figure out how
Yeah.
can this
They're
even
about to lose
work.
their health care or just lost their health care, and you trying to comfort me by saying, you know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
So, and support isn't only emotional. Sometimes it's practical. Take them a meal.
Yeah.
To offer to pick up groceries.
Yeah. Offer to watch children.
Watch your children. That was what I was going to say next. Sit with them at a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Help them with paperwork. You know, grief consumes so much mental energy that even ordinary decisions can feel overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the greatest gifts we can give someone is removing just one burden from their shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, go over and, hey, let me clean your house today. Let me organize your kitchen.
Yeah.
Let me do something for you. When we had our last loss, one of the greatest thing, and I'll never forget it. One of my I call her my sister and best friend. She showed up here.
Yeah.
Rita. She showed up
With
with a
food.
truck load
Yes.
of food.
Yeah.
And she know that I cook. She know that I take care of
Yeah.
my family every day.
And she knows I was here and able
Yeah.
to do it, but she showed up
And that got me through a week where
Yeah.
when she took that off of my head,
yeah.
oh my God. And people don't understand that.
It's those things that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But
that was great.
here's the part I wish more people understood. Support shouldn't end after the funeral or after the divorce is finalized, after the retirement party, or everyone else has moved on. The hardest day often comes months later
Yeah.
when everyone assumes they're okay. Continue checking in. Remember birthdays, anniversaries,
Yeah.
because those are the hard times for me. Around my mom's birthday and anniversary, my mom been gone 40 years, but
Yeah.
around her birthday and anniversaries, it's still those days that I wish a friend would show up and say, "Hey, girl, let's go do this. Let's go
Yeah.
take a walk." You know, just something to just help you.
Yeah.
And remember the day their world changed. That's an important day. Sometimes a simple text just saying, "I was thinking about you today." You know, those are the things that people remember and knowing that they haven't forgotten. So people who are grieving rarely need us to have the right words. They need to know they don't have to carry that weight alone.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we often think of grief as something that's deeply personal, but the truth is many leaders are grieving while still being expected to lead teams, make decisions, show up every day. Mom, since you've been in leadership for X amount of years, how does grief impact leading? You were just saying how it was that one email, that one ping on your phone that made you like just have your in the closet moment. So
Yeah.
how does that impact your leadership?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that leaders are somehow supposed to leave their humanity at the door.
Yeah.
You know, we show up every day. You know, we celebrate leaders who never seem to miss a step, who always have the answers. I mean, that was me. You know, who keep producing in the middle of their own grief.
Right.
I mean, we keep smiling, showing up, but the truth is, leaders grieve too.
They do.
Titles don't exempt us from being human. Loss doesn't stop because we have responsibilities. Whether you're a CEO, a teacher, a pastor, a first responder, or a parent, grief walks into work with you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that, you know, I've learned something through both my own life and through coaching others. Grief doesn't just affect your emotions, it affects your brain.
Yeah.
From a neuroscience perspective, it places an enormous demand on our cognitive resources. People often notice they can't remember things as well. But they lose focus, decision making takes longer, creativity feels harder. They're more emotionally sensitive, and this isn't weakness.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a leader of mine. She She had lost her husband. And, she took some time, but she came back to work. And I could tell that she was still, emotionally sensitive.
Yes.
Because, and everyone was bombarding her with, they're sorries. I know what you're going through. God must have needed another angel. So all of that.
Right.
And I could tell, and I would go and just sit in her office with her some days, have lunch with her. Yeah. But this is a woman that you never saw shed a tear. This is a woman, she was built for this. But she didn't feel that she had the right to grieve. And I would close the door and we would just sit and eat lunch, and she would just cry and cry. And, so it happens when the brain is trying to process that profound loss while you're still trying to manage everyday life.
Yeah.
And and to go through that, I think one of the greatest pressure leaders face is feeling like they have to be the strong one. We tell ourselves, and I know I have to show up today. We got those policies at work where, they categorize who you love the most.
Oh.
If your mom or dad died, you get a week off. You get 5 days. Yeah. But, if it's a brother or sister, you get 3.
Yeah, cousin.
If a cousin, you can take a couple hours for the funeral.
Right.
But, it's like, so I love those. I'm not, but that's
yeah,
here or there.
I get it though.
But you have the right company, you got the right HR, you got the right leader. They will give you the room you need to yes. grieve. But we tell ourselves as leaders, my team need me, my family need me. I don't have time to fall apart.
Right.
So what we do, we compartmentalize it. Mm-hmm. We put the grief on the shelf.
Yeah.
We walk into the meeting, we give the presentation, we lead the organization, and then we wonder months later why we're exhausted, mm-hmm. why we're disconnected, why we feel like we've lost ourselves. Because unprocessed grief has a way of showing up eventually. Sure does. You put it on the shelf, but if we don't make time to acknowledge it, our bodies often will. And that's where it's going to hit you first.
Yeah.
And I think healthy leadership begins with something we don't talk about enough. It's acknowledging our humanity. For years, I thought stewardship meant taking care of everyone else. Today, though, a different story. I believe stewardship also includes taking care of the person God entrusted me to lead first. Myself.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Me.
Yeah.
Not because leadership is about me, but because I can't sustainably pour into others from a place of continual depletion.
Right.
So I have to take care of myself. And I love that Jesus never pretended he wasn't affected by loss. And again, he wept.
Yeah.
Jesus, he used to, when things would happen, when he would go and heal, and he would withdraw.
Right.
Jesus prayed. He rested. Mm-hmm. He invited others into his sorrow. The Son of God, he didn't hide his humanity.
Yeah.
Why do we think we have to?
Yeah.
Why do we think we wear some cape? Why do we think we are above, humanity?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe real leadership isn't pretending we're okay. Maybe real leadership is having the courage to acknowledge we're human, to seek support when we need it, and to trust that authenticity doesn't weaken our leadership, it deepens it. And the strongest leaders aren't the ones who never grieve. They're the ones who learn how to grieve without losing themselves.
Yeah, that's wonderful. As a leader, I just want to ask this real quick. As a leader, how do you support others who are grieving? And how do you help them to not feel like you're just trying to fix their pain?
I think the first thing leaders need to understand is this. It is not your job to fix someone's grief.
Right.
And honestly, you can't. And it's not something to be solved. It's something people learn to carry. And as leaders, we have to be careful not to confuse leadership with rescuing. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes the greatest leadership we can offer is simply creating a space where someone doesn't have to pretend they're okay. And that's what I was saying about if you got a good company, a good HR, a good leader, a good leader creates space for that person. Yeah. And I've led teams for many years, and one of the things I learned is that people don't expect you to have all the answers, but they do hope you care enough to ask the questions. Instead of saying, when do you think you'll be back to normal? Ask, how are you doing today? Notice I didn't ask, how are you doing? I asked, how are you doing today? Yeah. Because grief changes from one day to the next.
Yes.
And some days people feel strong. Some days they're just getting out of bed, feel like an accomplishment for them. And I've always believed we should listen before we lead. Listening is one of the greatest forms of respect. When someone feels heard, they feel seen. When people feel seen, their trust grows. Sometimes we rush to offer advice before silence feels uncomfortable for us. Yeah. Because we're like, okay, we're just sitting here, don't know what to say. So first thing we do, we want to offer advice as a leader. But leaders need to become comfortable sitting in someone else's discomfort without trying to immediately remove it. Yeah. And support also look like flexibility. Understand that concentration may be different for a while for that person. That someone need a little grace. That, maybe they don't need less accountability. Maybe they just need more compassion. Yeah. Compassion and accountability can't exist together. In fact, I think it's the healthiest cultures. And so don't rush people through their grief. Right. We live in a culture that celebrates bouncing back so fastly. But healing doesn't happen on a schedule.
It doesn't.
I've learned that grief has its own timeline. And one of the most loving things we can say is, take the time you need. We'll walk with you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And so, the last thing, I think about Job's friends for 7 days. They just sat with him. Before they started explaining. They started giving advice. Before they tried to make sense of his suffering. They were just simply present. Ironically, they were at their best before they started talking. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes presence communicates God's love more powerfully than our explanations ever could. Yep. So leadership isn't always about knowing what to say. Sometimes it's about making sure no one has to suffer alone. Yeah. Yeah. So healthy relationship doesn't require us to hide our humanity. In most cases, our willingness to lead with compassion creates stronger, healthier teams. Samaje, one phrase we often hear is, you need to move on. What would you say to someone struggling with that?
Well, I guess I don't like that phrase when it comes to grief. But it can be something that is said to encourage you to know that you need to go to the next day.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So moving forward isn't forgetting. That's the first thing. I think moving forward doesn't mean that you're leaving a loved one or you're lost behind. It just means learning how to carry that loss while continuing living your life. Exactly. And I think when we're talking about losing someone, I think this could be helpful for maybe a parent who maybe lost their spouse, but you still have young kids or kids that are just depending on you still to be present. So I think when you look at, moving forward is not forgetting that person that you lost or that spouse. It's about how can I show up and be present for those who still depend on me. Yeah. And moving on with hope. Yeah. Healing honors a relationship. It doesn't diminish the love that was shared. In many ways, it honors that relationship by allowing the impact of that person or experience to continue shaping your life in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
Carrying on those traditions that you maybe had, still doing, even if you are a dad who's lost their wife and your wife would always make sugar cookies on Christmas and that's something your kids remember. Maybe you, even if you can't bake, but figuring out how to have sugar cookies for your kids, keeping those memories going. Love doesn't end because someone is gone. Death or separation may change the way we experience a relationship, but it doesn't erase the love, the memories, or legacy that remain in your heart. And I think this is big when you're talking maybe divorce. Yeah. Divorce, even if you were the one who left, or even if you left a relationship because it was necessary,
Yeah.
that does not mean that you're not going to grieve it.
Yeah.
You're still going to grieve it.
Absolutely.
And there are good parts of those relationships, the marriage, that you might miss.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to keep remembering that at one point you did love this person.
Exactly.
And you can still have, especially if children are involved, you can still have an amicable relationship and still grieve and manage this new dynamic between the two of you.
Absolutely.
You can experience joy again without feeling like you are betraying the person or the thing that you lost.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to smile, laugh, or embrace new experiences doesn't mean you're forgetting what you've lost. It means you're giving yourself permission to live while still carrying love for what mattered. One thing that I would often say is you don't move on from love, you move forward while carrying it with you.
Absolutely. And just one thing in that, Samaja, you were talking about when people tell you to move on, you're talking about after grief or loss of a loved one. And I know a lot of people that lose loved ones and they're trying to move on. And one of the things that I want to say to someone who's trying to move on, and that what you had in your life and what you're grieving, and especially if you have children, you have to remember that was a part of your journey. That was and is a part of your children's journey.
Yeah.
That's their identity. That's their father. That's their mother.
Right.
And when you find that next person, that person need to become a part of that journey.
Yes.
If you have someone telling you to forget about that part of your life, that may not be the right person for you.
It might not be.
I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, no, that's a whole nother episode.
So if you're grieving today, give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling without judging yourself.
Absolutely. And if someone you love is grieving, don't worry about saying the perfect thing. Simply remind them that they are not alone. Your presence may be more healing than your words.
Grief changes us, but it doesn't have to leave us without hope. While we may never return to who we were before the loss, healing allows us to move forward with greater compassion, resilience, and appreciation for what truly matters.
Whether you're grieving the loss of a loved one, a relationship, a dream, your health, or a season of life, we want you to know this. You don't have to rush your healing, and you don't have to walk this journey alone. Give yourself grace, take one day at a time, and trust that healing is possible even when it doesn't happen as quickly as you like.
Thank you for spending this time with us. To learn more about the JITT Group and explore additional resources, visit www.THEJITTGROUP, the JITT Group. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn, where the conversation continues. This is JITT Talks, real conversations, real transformations.